Hi, I'm Ron Bateman, the Sheriff of Anne Arundel County. Welcome to your Anne Arundel's Most Wanted program, a program where we showcase wanted criminals, highlight open cases, and look to you for tips. You, concerned citizens, that share my same goal, and that's keeping our communities safe. You'd be proud to know that your calls have allowed us to put handcuffs on thousands of criminals. So sit back, set your DVR, or grab a pen and paper, and help do your part in catching criminals. You're watching Anne Arundel's Most Wanted. And of course, everyone recognizes our next guest is Corporal Amy Megath from the Annapolis Police Department. Welcome back to the show, Amy.
Thank you, Sheriff.
So tell everybody what you're wearing today.
Sure, I have a body-worn camera. We've just started rolling them out to all the officers in Annapolis, and I got mine yesterday.
Very good. So when the people see you now they'll know what it is.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Who'd you bring for us today?
I've got three. The first one is Brandon Bynum. His date of birth is June 6th of 1996. He's an African-American male, 5 foot 11 inches tall, weighing 235 pounds. He has black hair and brown eyes. His last known address is 11 Marks Court, Apartment C in Annapolis, and he has an open warrant for 2 counts of stealing another's credit card and 1 count of theft less than $100. On December 19th of 2016, officers executed a search and seizure warrant for an unrelated matter and discovered multiple credit and debit cards with different names on them in Brandon Bynum's bedroom. Officers followed up and discovered that 2 of the credit cards were stolen on December 15th out of a van parked in the 1200 block of Madison Street. The officer obtained this arrest warrant for Bynum. Second subject we have is DeLass Troy Reed. He also goes by Q. His date of birth is October 25th of 1996. He's an African-American male, 5 foot 9 inches tall, weighing 195 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. His last known address is 1113 Frederick Douglass Street in Annapolis. He has an open warrant for first and second degree assault and reckless endangerment. On April 8th of 2017, officers responded to Anne Arundel Medical Center to meet with the victim of an assault. The victim reported that he was on the basketball courts with his son when 5 men approached him and began to assault him. The victim was forced to the ground where his body and head were kicked and stomped. The victim had a broken jaw, broken ankle, and a concussion as a result of the assault. The victim identified DeLass Reed as one of the men who assaulted him, and officers obtained this warrant for Reed. And the third subject we have is Rafael Josevich. His date of birth is May 19th of 1986. He's a white male, 6 foot tall, 218 pounds, with brown hair and brown eyes. He is balding and had a beard. His last known address is 3812 Summer City Boulevard in Chesapeake Beach. He has an open warrant for driving a vehicle while under the influence, driving a vehicle while under the influence per se, and driving a vehicle while impaired, as well as other traffic violations. On October 7th of 2016 at 12:10 a.m., an officer was patrolling outbound Route 665 when he saw debris in the roadway and 2 vehicles in the grassy median. Both vehicles had extensive damage. The vehicle Josevich was driving had flipped over several times. When the officer spoke to Josevich, he smelled the odor of an alcoholic beverage coming from inside the vehicle. The other driver reported that Josevich had been driving on the wrong side of the divided highway when the accident occurred. Josevich reported that he had just left the Annapolis Harbor Center. Both drivers were transported to Anne Arundel Medical Center for treatment of their injuries. At the hospital, Josevich agreed to a blood test for alcohol. The results showed that Josevich's blood alcohol content was 0.20. The officer obtained this arrest warrant for Josevich.
Well, folks, you know the whereabouts of any of those individuals. You know the deal. Do not approach them. Instead, call that number on the screen, 410-222-1490 or 911, 24 hours a day. Keep those calls coming in because your tips are definitely paying off. Amy, thank you very much.
Thank you, Sheriff.
And now for another regular guest on our show, Detective Sergeant Ed Eicher from the Maryland State Police, Glen Burnie Barrack. Welcome back to the show, brother.
Thanks, sir.
Who'd you bring for us?
We have 3 today. The first one's Hector Fabian Avila. He's a Hispanic male, birth date of February 24th, 1991. Last known address was Island Creek Court in Annapolis. 11/26/2016, troopers patrolling on U.S. Route 50 near the Severn River Bridge when a silver Honda Civic was found to be traveling 85 in the posted 55. Upon contact with the driver, he advised he failed to possess his driver's license, but was later identified as Mr. Avila. Avila showed signs of impairment while speaking with troopers, and as a result, he was asked to perform field sobriety exercises. He performed poorly in those exercises and was subsequently placed under arrest for driving under the influence. After the appropriate paperwork was completed, he was performed the breath test, which showed him to be impaired by alcohol during his driving. During the breath test, it was found that he also had an open warrant in Virginia for unrelated charges, and after processing was transported to the detention center awaiting extradition to Virginia. Mr. Avila was scheduled for a trial in Anne Arundel County on March 15th of this year, where he failed to appear. Thusly, an active bench warrant is now on file for him in Maryland. The second is Miss Megan Sue Cogan, a white female, born September 24th, 1991, last known address of Old Mill Road in Millersville. In June of 2016, troopers responded to a single vehicle motor crash on 295 at 695. Once on location, they found one vehicle off the roadway and into the woods with two occupants, and the driver being identified as Mrs. Cogan. Once the vehicle was brought back to the roadway by the tow truck, a used needle was located in the front seat. Cogan advised she used the heroin injection prior to the crash. Cogan completed field sobriety exercises, did not show signs of impairment. However, she was charged with the CDS paraphernalia. She had a court appearance scheduled for March 17th, but failed to appear for that date, and an active bench warrant is issued on her. And lastly is Mr. David Augustin Velasco. He's a Hispanic male, April 21st, 1989. His last known address was Paddington Place in Annapolis. In January of this year, troopers were on patrol 997 in the area of Farm Road, Crownsville. At that time, the troopers were following a white Honda Civic that showed signs of impairment by its swerving in the lane and crossing over solid white and yellow lines. The stop was initiated and contact was made with the driver, who was identified as Mr. Velasco. Velasco exhibited bloodshot and glassy eyes, as well as the odor of an alcoholic beverage emitting from his breath and person. Due to these signs and his slurred speech, he was asked to perform field sobriety exercises. He performed poorly in those and was arrested for DUI and found to be twice the legal limit by the breath test. A court date was set for Mr. Velasco on April 5th of this year, where he failed to appear. So an active bench warrant is now on file for him.
Very good. Folks, you know the whereabouts of any of those individuals. Call that number on the screen, 410-222-1490 or 911 24 hours a day. Ed, thank you very much,
Thanks,
buddy.
sir.
Now, of course, everyone recognizes this guest. It's Mark Lemansky from the Anne Arundel County Police Department. Welcome back to the show, Mark.
Thanks a lot, Sheriff.
Who'd you bring for us, buddy?
I have three individuals today, Sheriff. The first one is James Akib Malik Johns. He is a 26-year-old African-American male with black hair and brown eyes. He is 6 feet tall, 160 pounds, with the date of birth of April 13, 1991. His address is 434 Arbor Drive in Glen Burnie, Maryland. On April 17, 2017, officers responded for a domestic violence incident in Glen Burnie. Upon arrival, they met with the victim, who told officers that she got into an argument with her boyfriend, James Johns. The argument became violent when James Johns began to strangle her with his hands, causing her to lose consciousness. When she woke up, Johns began strangling her a second time and told her he was going to kill her. Johns was no longer on scene when officers arrived. The victim was transported to the hospital for treatment. Officers applied for and received an arrest warrant for James Akib Malik Johns. He is wanted for attempted first-degree murder and assault. The second one is Michael Allen Stonecipher. He is a 25-year-old white male with blonde hair and blue eyes. He is 5 feet 8 inches tall, 160 pounds, with the date of birth of December 3, 1991. His last known address was 55 Bremer Drive in Glen Burnie, Maryland. On March 13, 2017, officers met with a homeowner who reported that someone forced entry into his residence and stole property, including several pieces of jewelry. The suspect forced entry to the residence through the basement door, damaging 6 of 9 glass panes in the door. At this point, the only items noticed to be stolen from the residence is a prescription of muscle relaxers from the kitchen area. The homeowner believed it was his son, Michael Stonecipher, who doesn't live at the residence, is responsible for the burglary. A neighbor told officers that he saw Michael Stonecipher at the rear of the residence on the date of the burglary. A check of local pawn records revealed that Michael Stonecipher sold several pieces of jewelry with an estimated value of $3,450 at a store in Hanover, Maryland. The victim identified the jewelry as belonging to him. Detectives are seeking the whereabouts of Michael Stonecipher, who currently has active warrants for burglary and theft. The last individual is Ashlyn Ware. She is a 27-year-old African-American female with blonde or black hair and brown eyes. She is 5 feet 11 inches tall, 210 pounds, with a date of birth of February 3, 1990. Her address is 1847 Lyons Court in Severn, Maryland. On March 21, 2017, officers responded to the 1400 block of Burger Street for the report of a burglary. The victim stated that between 3:30 on the 20th and 7 a.m. on the 21st, an unknown person entered his residence, ransacked the home, and stole several items, including a 40-inch television, a game console, and other electronics and personal items. Officers located a prescription pill bottle with the name Ashlyn Ware left behind at the scene. The victim told officers that he did not know Ashlyn Ware. A review of camera footage revealed a female and a male accomplice carrying the victim's items away from the residence. The female seen in the camera footage matches a description of Ashlyn Ware's driver's license photo. As a result of this investigation, Ashlyn Ware was identified as the person committing the burglary. She has active warrants for burglary and theft.
Outstanding. Once again, folks, you know the whereabouts of any of those individuals. Do not approach them. Call that number, 410-222-1490, 911, 24 hours a day. Mark, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Sheriff.
Okay, before I get started about those subjects wanted by the Sheriff's Office, I want to remind our viewers that 70% of all of our arrest warrants in Anne Arundel County are for people who fail to appear for court. And the majority of those failure to appear for court cases are misdemeanor violations. So, as a means to try to reduce those numbers, we have partnered up with the State's Attorney's Office, the Public Defender's Office, and the courts to have what we're going to call an FTA Forgiveness Day. And we're going to do it at the Annapolis District Court off of Rowell Boulevard. We're going to do it on Friday, June the 23rd. You'll see more coming out in the newspaper and the media about this. But Friday, June the 23rd, probably start around 8 or 9 a.m. and go till the afternoon, where people, if you have an outstanding warrant for failure to appear for a misdemeanor violation, you come in, you'll meet with the state's attorney, the public defender, and the sheriff's office, and you'll come in and your warrant will be taken care of. It will be basically disposed of. And then you will receive a court date for your original violation. Say, for example, you failed to appear for a shoplifting charge, and you have an FTA warrant out on you, and that's the only warrant you have. You come in, your warrant is disposed of, we give you a summons for your court date for your shoplifting charge, and then you go back and take care of that, and your FTA warrant is disposed of. Great opportunity for those with those minor FTA warrants out on them, but they cause us such problems at the Sheriff's Office because it accounts for so many arrest warrants and really ties the deputies up when they could be prioritizing their workday and focusing on more serious warrants. Okay, so stay tuned to that, June 23rd, Friday, Annapolis District Court. Now for those subjects wanted by the Anne Arundel County Sheriff's Office. Our first subject is going to be Kevin Michael Knott. Now Knott has two warrants. The first is for failing to appear for court on March 10th of 2017 for a prior burglary and theft to $1,000 to $10,000 charges. The second warrant was issued on April the 12th of 2017 for violating the terms of his probation. You probably guessed that failure to appear had something to do with the violation of probation, and you would be right. So today we are looking for Kevin Michael Knott, who's a 39-year-old white male with a date of birth of March 29th, 1978. He's 6 foot 2 inches tall, weighs 130 pounds, has brown hair and green eyes. His last known address is 816 Broadview Boulevard in North in Glen Burnie. Our next subject is going to be Tajita Tiffany Lewis. Lewis has 3 open warrants. They are related to an assault, which was alleged to have occurred on February the 23rd of 2017. Now the story goes that Lewis drove her 2 juvenile daughters to an address on Thicket Court, and the 3 of them began looking for another student. Once the pack found the victim, They chased her to her home, and then Lewis's juvenile daughters assaulted her. Mom of the Year Lewis is reported to have encouraged the interaction and assault, standing by watching as her daughters engaged in the violence and pulling another individual away from the fracas when they tried to break it up. The first of Lewis's pending paperwork was issued on February the 26th. It was initially issued as a summons, but Lewis avoided service. So it was returned to the court and rolled back out as an arrest warrant for disorderly conduct and contributing to the conduct of a child. Warrant 2 was issued on February 26 for assault, harassment, stalking, and trespassing. Warrant 3 was issued on February 27th for assault. That is why today we're looking for Tajita Tiffany Lewis, who's a 30-year-old black female with the date of birth of April the 18th, 1986. She's 5 foot 6 inches tall, weighs 165 pounds, black hair, brown eyes, and her last known address is 1202 Greystone Road in Odenton. Our last subject is going to be Delvonta Ellis Wright. Wright has 2 open warrants. The first was issued on August 2nd, 2016 for failing to appear for court on his prior CDS possession case. The second was issued on September 13th, 2016 for violation of probation on a prior wear, carry, and transport a handgun on a person case. The violation of probation was generated as a result of failing to report picking up the new CDS charges and failing to notify parole and probation of the new charges. So today we are looking for Delvonta Ellis Wright, 25-year-old black male with the date of birth, December 27th, 1991. He's 5'10", weighs 175 pounds, and has black hair and brown eyes, and his last known address is 8250 Clearwater Court in Severn. Now, a few people I want to thank that allow this show to happen every single month. First, my buddy behind the camera there, Mr. Dale Boyer from my office, who does a great job. Lieutenant Jennifer Gilbert Duran. Our County Executive, Mr. Steve Shue. Anne Arundel County Chief of Police, Tim Altamari. The Annapolis City Police, who's an acting chief, Major Scott Baker. And from the Maryland State Police, Colonel Bill Palazzi. Remember, folks, let's keep Anne Arundel County safe. I'm Sheriff Ron Bateman, and we'll see you next time on Anne Arundel's Most Wanted.